Hi guys, you're welcome to another tutorial on Sew with Abby channel. In this video today, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful asymmetric neckline dress draped at one side of the upper part, also ruched at the lower sides and at the back, and it has feathers attached to the sleeves. This style can be rocked by slim ladies as well as plus size ladies. So if this video interests you, keep watching. Let's get into it. For this tutorial, I have my tape, scissors, one for paper and the other for fabric, zipper, elastic, pattern cuff, ruler, marker and pattern paper. Feathers for the sleeves. This is called turkey feather. It is one pack which has about 2 yards and some inches. Though the feather used on the style inspiration is ostrich feather, but I'll be using more than one pack if I decide to go for that. Reason why I settled for this turkey feather. For my fabric, I have velvet here and it is 3 yards. This velvet is the kind that stretch. I opted for a stretchy fabric because there's no slits at the back of the dress. The first thing I'll do is to draft upper basic bodies, which I'll modify to suit the upper part of the dress. So I'll draw a straight line, which is the starting of the shoulder line, and from there I'll take the vertical measurements. I'll measure my bust point, which is 9.5 inches, then under bust, which is 13 inches, and then the half length, which is 15 inches, plus 1 inch stitching allowance. Then I'll draw straight lines across. Afterwards, I'll take the shoulder measurement divided by 2. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7.5 plus half inch stitching allowance, that's 8 inches. Then I'll take the armhole measurement. To get your armhole measurement, simply divide your bust by 6 and then add 1.5 inches. Now my armhole measurement is 7.5. I'll draw a straight line across, which will be the chest line, and a vertical line connecting the chest line to the shoulder line. Now I'll go ahead to label the lines. This is the chest line, the bust point, the under bust line, the waist line, and the allowance. Now the next thing to do is to get the armhole cuff. To get your armhole cuff, you divide your bust circumference into 4, mark, and come to the armhole line and mark the midpoint. And then from that point you go in by half inch. Then you connect the dots together. The next thing to measure is the neckline. The width is 3 inches and the depth is 3 inches as well. Now I will take the body measurements. My bust measurement divided by 4, I've marked that out earlier. I'm not adding stitching allowance because the fabric I'm using is stretchy. And then I'll come to my waistline and measure my waist measurement divided by 4, and then I'll measure the same thing at the allowance line. Then I'll connect the dots together. And I'll come to the shoulder line here and come down by half inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll connect it to the neckline. Okay guys, this is the upper basic bodies. I'll go ahead to cut it out. Now I'll relabel the lower lines and then start to modify these basic bodies to suit the upper part of the dress. The first thing to do is to open up the pattern paper and extend all the lines. Next, I'll place my tape at the shoulder to determine how deep I want the neck to be. I want it deep by 5.5 inches, and then I'll come to this side and measure the same thing, and from the armhole region I'll go in by 1.5 inch. Then I'll use my pattern cuff to connect the dots to the neckline. After stitching, I realized the neck came a little deeper than I wanted. So if you don't want your neck to be as deep as mine, go ahead and take away some inches before you measure. I will come to the shoulder again, then move down a little to draw a coffee line that will be connected to the first line. And now we have a new neckline. The next thing to do is to work on the side drape. I'll come to the chest line here and start to measure 1.5 inch to the end of the pattern paper. Now for this drape, I don't want it straight but slanted. So from the chest line now, I'll come down by ½ inch before taking the 1.5 inch to the end of the pattern paper, and then I'll connect the points together and extend the lines to the side. Now I'm going to cut through the lines and cut towards the middle part of the pattern paper. The next thing to do is to bring in my fabric and place the pattern paper on it. Now I'll go ahead to measure the space I want for the draping. So I measured 1 inch. That's the space I want to leave. You can leave 1.5 or 2 inches space depending on what you want. I will measure the 1 inch till I get to the end of the paper. The next thing to do is to start pleating in the space. I'll pleat in the space like so, pin it down, ensuring to cover the gaps in between so as to get the pattern paper back to its actual length. Now I'll go ahead to cut out my fabric. For the excess at the side here, when I stitch down the pleats, I'll cut it off. Now I want to confirm if the draped side is back to its actual length by using this other side to check. Now as you can see, the two sides are of the same length, and this is what the front piece looks like. I'll set this aside and bring in the back pattern. I've gone ahead to draft the back pattern, and I also added 1.5 inch zipper allowance. At the waist side of the zipper allowance, I went in by ½ inch. This is to eliminate bulge at that side. And for the armhole, I didn't go in by 0.5 as I did the front piece. And for the neckline, the width is still 3 inches but the depth is 1.5. Now I'll bring in my fabric, place it on fold, set the pattern paper on it and cut it out. Now that the back piece is ready, I'll go ahead to cut facing for it and also the front piece. Okay guys, this is the piece for the facing and it is on fold. I've set my back piece on it and I'll trace out the neck line and also cut out the length I want it to be. This is what the facing looks like. Each back piece will have its own, and when I get to the sewing machine, I'll stitch it like so, and then I'll use hemming gum to hold it down. Now this is the facing for the front piece. I'll go ahead and trace out the neckline. For the length, after I stitch the neckline, I'll still reduce the length before I use hemming gum to hold it down. Okay guys, I've gone ahead to stitch the pleats, and then I stitch the facing to the neckline, and then I use hemming gum. I also did the same to the back pieces. The next thing to do now is to stitch the shoulder as well as the side. So I'll head over to the sewing machine and do just that. Okay guys, I'm done stitching the shoulder as well as the sides. Now it's time to work on the lower part of this dress. This is the piece for the lower part, and I already folded it into 4. I used my hip measurement divided by 4 to fold this because my hip is bigger than my waist. So this is the front piece and this is the back piece. I added 2 inches zipper allowance to the back. For the length, what I really need is 28 inches, but I added extra 22 inches for the ruche, making it 50 inches, and then I added 1 inch for stitching allowance. Next, I'll place my tape at the center fold of the front piece to take my waist measurement. My waist measurement divided by 4. I'm not adding stitching allowance. Remember, we are using a stretchy fabric. And from the waistline, I'll measure my hip length. Normally, it's supposed to be 9 or 10 inches, but because we are ruching this skirt, I'm going to measure 16 inches After ruching, it's going to go back to the normal measurement. I will draw a line across and then take the hip measurement. My hip measurement divided by 4, not adding stitching allowance there as well. Again, from the waistline, I'll measure 24 inches, which will be the knee line. Don't forget we are working on a ruched dress. Then I'll draw a line across. What I have at my hip line, 10 inches, I'll deduct 1 inch from it, making that measurement there 9 inches. I will take the same 9 inches at the hem here, and then I'll connect the dots together. Now I will cut along the lines and slash the zipper side into 2. From the waist, I'll come down by 9 inches. This is where the zipper will stop, and I'll head over to the sewing machine to stitch the zipper allowance from the hem all the way up to this point. After stitching the zipper allowance, I will join the sides as well. Right side facing each other, I will join the 2 sides and then hem the down part. Okay guys, I'm done stitching the sides and the zipper allowance, and I left the space for the zipper, and I also went ahead to hem the down part using hemming gum. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach the upper and the lower part together to form a full dress. I've gone ahead to notch the center of these 2 parts. Right side facing each other, I will head over to the sewing machine to stitch it round. Okay guys, I'm done stitching and this is what I have. I also went ahead to fix zipper to the back of the dress. Now it's time to ruch the dress, and I'm doing that at the wrong side. This is the elastic. I'll go ahead to measure 21 inches. I'm cutting out 2. This is for the 2 sides, and for the back I'm cutting out 18 inches because it is starting at the end of the zipper. I will attach the elastic from 1 inch below the waistline, and when stitching I'll completely stretch the elastic all the way to the hem of the dress. I'm not stitching on the body of the dress but at the allowance side, and I'll completely stretch the elastic all the way to the hem of the dress. And for the back, I'll attach the elastic from where the zipper stops, and I will stretch it as well all the way to the end of the dress. Okay guys, I'm done stitching the elastic to the dress, and this is what I have. As you can see, the length has reduced. The next thing I'm going to do is to draft the sleeve for this dress. This is the pattern paper I'll be drafting the sleeve on before I cut on my fabric. I'll draw a straight line there, which is the starting line, and from there I'll measure my shoulder to elbow 13 inches, and then the length of my sleeve 24 inches. From the starting line, I'll come down by 5 inches. Then draw a coffee line from here to meet the 5-inch point. Afterwards, I'll take my armhole measurement, which is 7.5 inches, and then add ½ inch for stitching allowance. At the elbow line here, I will take my round elbow measurement, which is 10 inches, divided by 2, that's 5, plus ½ inch stitching allowance. At the hem here, I'll take my wrist measurement divided by 2, that's 4.5, plus ½ inch stitching allowance. Then I'll connect all the dots together. At the armhole line, I will get the midpoint and then mark. From that point, I'll go in by ½ inch and then connect like so. This will be the front part of the sleeve, and the reason for doing this is to avoid unnecessary puff at the armpit. Don't forget, this is just for the front part. Now I will place this pattern paper on my fabric, add 1 inch stitching allowance, then cut it out. Now I will open up the pattern paper to cut out the front part. Don't forget, you are cutting out just 2. Now I will pick one of the sleeves and bring in my feathers. For these feathers, I use oil right here to dissolve the gum so that I won't have issue when stitching it on my fabric. And I cut out 6, 3 on each sleeve. and I cut it out according to the measurement on my wrist. Each feather should be 1 inch apart on the sleeve. Now I'll measure 3 inches from the hem of the sleeve and bring in the first feather. After, I'll measure 1 inch and bring in the second feather. Then the last feather will be at the hem of the sleeve. I'll head over to the sewing machine to stitch. Alright guys, I'm done stitching and this is how it looks like. Now for this feathers part, I'll cover it up with a piece of fabric, and this is the piece I'm using. I'll stitch it together, flip it over, then top stitch. Then I'll also close up the side of the sleeve, and this is what it will look like when I'm done. You can see that it is neatly finished. I will go ahead to attach it to my dress, and this is the outcome of the dress. Thanks for watching guys. Hope you find this tutorial helpful. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly subscribe and turn on the notifications so that anytime I post new videos you will be notified. See you in my next one.